All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. With hashtag keep the flame alive. I don't know what the hashtag's for, but that's what I've been told to do. My very, very special guest today is Simon Gray. I met him a long time ago. I can't remember when, but met him a long time ago. And he's the author of a book, Suck It Up or Go Home. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you, Sensei. Hi, gozaimasu. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's morning in the UK and night here, as you can see. I don't drink in the morning.
A bit early for me, but never mind.
Who is Simon Gray?
So I'm a guy that has a passion for the martial arts, have had since I was a very, very young age. Currently, I am I'm a family man, 2 kids, wife, live in the UK. My profession is executive career coach. So I had spent a long time in recruitment and then set up my own business about 10 years ago, done a few different things, a few transitions and whatnot in the business world. But basically, I help people move in the job market. That's what I do now.
Okay, cool. And your martial arts background before, a bit about your martial arts background.
Yeah, sure. I got into martial arts through the whole Bruce Lee thing. So I started Kung Fu when I was about 16. And the real catalyst for doing martial arts was I got bullied at school. And the only guy at my school that I went to that didn't seem to get bullied was a martial artist. So when I left that school, I decided I'd take up martial arts. So I did Kung Fu. Where I trained Kung Fu, there was a Muay Thai gym next door. It was in a recreation center. I then transitioned into Muay Thai, spent 25 years doing Muay Thai. I've only recently stopped that. Got into Aikido, got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, done some Krav Maga. I would say my bread and butter is Muay Thai. That's where I've spent most of my time, probably closely followed by Aikido.
Okay, right. What made you go to Japan to do the course? Oh, sorry, is that one and the same, going to Japan and doing the course, or?
Yeah, pretty much. In fact, the reason I ended up in Japan, I was in the process of emigrating to Australia. Japan was going to be a stop-off point while I waited for the visa to come through. And about that time, I was training at the Shudokan in Nottingham. I read the book Angry White Pajamas, which was doing the rounds then, and I'd never heard of Senshusei before. But once I read the book, I thought, wow, this sounds pretty interesting. Maybe when I get to Japan, because I was going anyway, I'll have a look at this. I'll turn up at the Thambu dojo and see if I might do it. And then I turned up, and for a number of different reasons, I decided I would do it. But I guess one of the big catalysts was reading that book, and also a class that we used to do at the Shudokan on a Friday night, which was run by Sensei Michael, who I know you know, Sensei. Which was kind of an intense class where you went upstairs into the dojo. He kind of locked the door. The rules were you couldn't leave and you had to do what you were told. And that was kind of an idea what Senshusei might be like.
Okay. Look, come back to Michael later. There's a rumor that you did the course so you could write the book. Is that true?
Completely inaccurate. So I was a shodan when I went to Japan. And I went to Japan to understand what learning Aikido in Japan was all about and to understand what the Senshusei course was about. The book idea came later. And the book idea came really because on the course, we had to write diaries. So I wrote the diary that you had to hand in. But in the diary you had to hand in to the sensei, I didn't really want to convey my feelings. And I thought it'd be quite interesting to keep a record to look back on at a future date. So, you know, if that were true, I'd have come straight back from Japan and wrote the book. And it's actually 13 years later. I've just taken an opportunity now for various different reasons, to write the book and to put it out there and see what people think.
Okay. And thank you. I've got to ask the questions that
it's cool.
By people.
That's cool.
The name, Suck It Up or Go Home.
Yeah, I think when you write a book, and this is my 4th book. When you write a book, you need a title that is going to capture people's interest. So if I'd have called it Senshusei, it wouldn't have had wider appeal. So I needed something catchy. And we actually used to say, suck it up or go home on the course. So I wrote the book, and then I looked back at the book and thought, well, okay, what's the prominent title? What is a phrase in the book that could summarize the whole experience? And we used to say that phrase quite a lot because it was an encouragement to keep going during tough times. Stop whining, stop whinging, just get on with it, treat each day individually and get through the course. But reflecting
I'm just going to stop you there a second, Simon.
Okay.
Most of my listeners are cheap bastards, so don't give too much away. Let them buy the book. Let them buy the book. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Yes,
good.
yes.
Tempt them. Don't give them everything.
Okay. I'm too giving. I'm too giving. Keep me right. Keep me right, Sensei. Thank you.
Right. So, sorry, go on. You were talking about suck it up and go home.
Yeah. So the second reason, and this is a clue to what is in the latter part of the book. In the latter part of the book, I discuss and explain what Aikido gave to me. And what Aikido gave to me was nothing really to do with the techniques. It was something a lot deeper. So I still practice Aikido today, I believe, although I don't train Aikido, which is the distinction. And suck it up or go home. The suck it up bit is, in life, we all face confrontation. We all face challenges. It's very easy in a tension situation to fight fire with fire. If you've got somebody in your face, it's a confrontational situation in business, out in the street, personal life. If you can just suck that energy up and step away from the problem, it tends to diffuse that problem. So that again is what it means. So it's got a meaning on a few different levels. So
now, from what you said, my brain got so many questions going through it. So I'm just going to try, right? Now, some would say that you didn't suck it up. You went home by giving up on Aikido, by giving up Aikido.
Yeah, yeah.
So some would say that you went home.
Yeah, I did. And to be honest, Sensei, I've had a regret recently that I did that, that I stopped training Aikido. Now, I can make all the excuses in the world as to why I stopped training Aikido. What I can tell you is that while I was in Japan, although I was on the Senshusei course and you were supposed to be a specialist in training one martial art, I was still doing Muay Thai at Fairtex Muay Thai, and I was also training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Axis Jiu-Jitsu. So I was still pursuing the other arts that I had done for quite some time. When I left Japan, I came to Australia for a bit. I came back to ended up coming back to the UK, and I couldn't do everything. I've got quite a nasty injury in my knee, and I think part of that injury came as a result of all the Zagaku, the Seiza stuff that we did. And I decided that I would stop Aikido, continue with Muay Thai, and continue with the Jiu-Jitsu. I've now stopped Muay Thai. I'm 48 now. It tends to be a younger man's game. So, yeah, I think to answer your question, I think I've answered your question. I sucked up the Senshusei course, did the course, but then, yes, when I came home, I did stop Aikido. But I still continue to train in some pretty tough martial arts.
Okay. So, I appreciate the answer, and it's a good answer. But it's symptomatic of a bigger thing.
Yeah.
You know many people who did the course, your course, other courses, and I did bits of 2 courses, right?
Okay.
Maybe I didn't have the balls enough to enroll in a course or whatever, but I know how hard it is. I've seen people go through it. I know lots of people have gone through it. And is it for everyone?
I think there were 2 types of people on my course. There were those that were serious Aikido practitioners before they turned up. I think it is for those people. And then there were other people on the course that had never trained Aikido before, found themselves in Japan for whatever reason, and thought, possibly because they'd also read the same book that I'd read, that it was a good idea. I don't think it's for those people necessarily. I think the Senshusei course is such a specialist course. I think it should be for serious Aikido practitioners. And it used to be back in the day, correct me if I'm wrong, Sensei, it used to be back in the day that you had to hold a black belt, or I think a 3rd degree black belt in another martial art before you could do it. But in my year, for some reason, there were people on the course that had never trained in the martial arts before.
Look, in the old days, it was, but that applied to the police.
Yeah.
Most of the police had to be like Sandan in Kendo or Judo or something, and then they could. It didn't apply across the board. Never did.
I think, to come back to your question, I think if you are bringing people onto the Senshusei course that have never trained in Aikido before, their experience of Aikido, possibly after 11 months, is not going to be a particularly good one, because it is a tough program. And if you look at my year, of the 13 of us that did it, there are only, I think, and I followed up with everybody since the course, there's probably 3 or 4 people that actually carried on with Aikido. One to quite a serious level, he teaches Aikido, but everybody else stopped. So you can read into that what you will.
Who's the one who teaches Aikido now? Still.
So Neville
Okay.
Copeland. Yeah. So he was, I guess he was what the course was designed to create. It was designed to, in part designed to create Aikido instructors to take Yoshinkan Aikido around the world. So he's up the road from me doing that.
That leads me to another question. Do you think the course is misbranded? Is it an instructor course?
If you've done Aikido before and you have a Shodan in Aikido and you do the Senshusei course, by the end of that course, I think you're ready to teach. If you've never trained in Aikido, even if you've trained in another martial arts, training 11 months on the course and then going out and teaching, you're not ready. I mean, the instructor element is a very, very small part of the course. Yeah. It's the last 2 months. It doesn't prepare you to teach.
All right, I'm going to disagree with you, Simon, and say that whether you've, unless you're like a Sandan or something, and you do the course, when you come out, you're no instructor. And I've seen a lot of people it's produced, and they were abysmal at teaching because you're taught to teach someone your own level.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
And people get up there and explain Shomeuchi Ikajo Seichi for 5 minutes, and they lose the crowd.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a different skill. Yeah. I've competed in Muay Thai as an example. So I fought in the ring, and then I've taught. They're two different things. Different things. I didn't start teaching Muay Thai until I'd probably trained for 15 years. So we actually agree, whether it's Shodan, Sandan, but you've got to have a level of Aikido before you do the course if you're going to be a teacher when you come out.
I want to backtrack a little bit, right? You said that the course was not about technique. Am I quoting you right?
More or less, yeah. For me.
So what was it about?
The course for me, I mean, you learn techniques, but often you learn techniques in a huge amount of detail, and then you often lose that detail during Hajime Geiko. So you're practicing bad technique. For me, at the end of the course, I knew some Aikido techniques, and I was better than when I started the course. But for me, it was about getting through the course. The course taught me what I was capable of, because I pushed myself harder than I ever pushed myself before. And it gave me, I guess it gave me a belief in myself. It gave me a kind of sat nav for life, if you like, that whatever's thrown at me, whatever hardship is thrown at me, well, I can probably get through it. And to this day I have. So it gave me much more than techniques, which I could have got anywhere else in the world.
And anything else? Did it give you anything else?
It enabled me to take one hell of a beating if I ever needed to. I remember somebody said to me once before the course, by the end of the course, you'll be able to take one hell of a beating. I mean, I would say that I was pretty resilient. I'd done 15 years of Muay Thai when I did the course. So I was pretty resilient. It gave me, it's hard to explain, Sensei, but it gave me something deep inside, something spiritual. It was a very, very spiritual experience for me. And I think when you push yourself to the limit, when you're potentially going to faint in this class, you can't get up in the morning, but you have to. It takes you to a level of self-understanding and self-reflection that you've never been to before. And we used to do the Hansei every week, the self-reflection every week. That was a powerful thing as well, which reinforced that more spiritual understanding.
I can relate, having done bits of 2 courses, but I couldn't do the whole year. Just I needed, every time I went to Japan, I needed an exit strategy. I needed to know when I'm getting out. You said it's a spiritual, without getting too deep, right? Mm-hmm. But I met people on your course who, I would never have picked that person did the course.
Yeah.
And this person recently on Facebook was pontificating on Yoshinkan Aikido, etc., etc. And sorry, but if you cannot stand straight and if you cannot bow properly, you have no right to talk about Budo.
Yes. Yes.
If you cannot stand straight and you cannot bow properly, and greet someone like Robert Mustard Sensei in the appropriate manner, then don't talk to me about Budo. And don't talk to me about the efficacy of this style or that style. You have no right. You have no right whatsoever.
I totally agree with you.
Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I can. So I know who you're talking about. And the person you're talking about is what I would describe as, this person was a tourist in Japan. So I said there were two types of people: the serious Aikido practitioner and the person who happened to be in Japan and wanted to do something interesting. This person was that person. And it's what's been very interesting is, after 13 years, I contacted everybody who I did the course with to ask them some questions, and you'll get this at the back of the book. And it was very interesting to see what people said about what they got from the course. And that person got nothing from the course. So maybe they're in mind, well, maybe they're in body, let's say, but probably not there in mind and spirit. I think they missed the show. They missed what it was about. And I think that's because they were young before they went and they had no background in martial arts. So I agree with you. I agree with you totally.
Now, I'm going to pick you up on a point of etiquette. And please correct me if I'm wrong. Did you ask Robson Sensei for permission to do the course?
That's a good question. No, I don't think I did. No. And we are on good terms now. I'm actually going to take him a copy of the book. But Sensei Ken, great instructor. And I enjoyed my time at the Shudokan in Nottingham. I think at the time that I went to Japan, there was a few people maybe pulling away that wanted to explore what Yoshinkan was. It was probably to do with this Friday night class that we had. And I was a younger guy then. I probably wasn't as confident as I am now. And yes, it's a regret that I didn't properly follow etiquette. I knew the etiquette because I trained in other martial arts, but it would have been such a difficult conversation to have. He knew I was going to Japan. I didn't know when I was going to Japan that I was definitely going to do the course, but I could have written to him or phoned him. So, you know, I will, when I go and see him in a few weeks and take him a copy of the book, I'm going to put that right.
Okay, all right. Send him my regards.
I will do, yeah. Thank you.
And now, Michael Pabias.
Yes.
Your thoughts, your reflections on him.
He is, if you ask me who has influenced me in my martial arts career, there were a number of people, and I talk about them in the book, but Sensei Michael, hugely. I think we were, when we met at the Shudokan, he was over from Poland. I think we were kind of kindred spirits. He had a deep interest in martial arts, Aikido and other arts, and we got on very well. I gave up my job before I went to Japan. We were training pretty much full time at the Shudokan, so I would go. He would teach me Aikido in the day. Then I would teach him some Muay Thai. So, you know, good friends. And when I went to Japan, he presented me with two gifts, which are very special gifts for me. He presented me with his dogi, his Shudokan dogi, and he presented me with a book. And in the book, he wrote, "Aikido and life are one." And I don't know, I didn't understand what he meant when he wrote that. But by the end of the course, I think I did. He also wrote in the book, "Enjoy the flight," and he didn't mean the aeroplane. But you got to read the book to know why that was. So okay, I have huge respect for him.
Now going to the course, right? Again, don't give away too much.
Okay.
Who was your most influential teacher on the course?
Okay. Most influential teacher, easy, Chino Sensei, without a doubt. And the reason for that is because he gave us...
Sorry, Simon. One second.
Yeah.
Go back. What year did you do the course?
2006, 2007.
So you finished in March?
February 2007, just before it all
implosion.
kind of... The implosion. Yeah,
implosion.
very well put.
Yes. Polite. Yeah. Okay. So Chida Sensei was still dojo cho there?
Yes.
And
yes.
Inoue Sensei was still kancho?
Yes.
Okay, so yes. So go on, please.
So I come from a business background. So I've given up my home, my life in the UK. I'd gone to Japan. I wanted the full I wanted the full Senshusei experience. And if you look at the Thambu as a business, you know, Kancho would be the chairman, Chida Dojo Cho would have been the CEO, and I was kind of one of the employees. Unfortunately, I don't know why, but Chida Sensei, I was so keen to train under him and to learn from him. You know, he's the guy that I'd read about, watched the videos about. And I think during the whole course, he probably taught from start to finish, maybe 4 or 5 classes, which was a real shame because we didn't get the exposure to Chida Sensei that I would have liked to have had. And I'm not sure why. The only thing I can put it down to is the fact that the implosion was coming. There were other things going on in the background that I didn't know and didn't understand. And what was very, very telling at one of the, I think it was the last party we had, is Chida Sensei got up to make a speech, and he actually formally apologized for not spending as much time with us as he would have liked to have done. So what that meant was we had to look for direction in another direction. And the instructor that gave us the most time on the mats was Chino Sensei. So I guess if you were to look at my Aikido when I left the course, my Aikido was more in tune with Chino Sensei's interpretation of what Aikido is than Chida Sensei's.
I'll not venture an opinion on Chino Sensei, so leave it at that.
What I would say on that though, Sensei, what I would say on that is, you know, people may read the book and they may say, well, okay, you're quite pro Chino Sensei in the book, you're less pro Chida Sensei, and I've explained the reasons for that, and I go into more detail in the book. I had to judge it. I judged that experience at that time. I know things have happened since, which we don't need to get into.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I looked to the person that gave me their all, and that was him. And I respect him for that.
And rightly so too. And I have different experiences with him, and you know, different experience with Chida Sensei. So you know, yeah, I know where you're coming from, and this is about your experiences, not mine. But yes. I have to chime in with my 2 bobs worth every so often.
No. I asked. I can't remember who I asked who's read the book, and they said to me they really enjoyed it. But they said you're not as pro Chida Sensei, which could upset some people. And I said, well, that was my experience. That was my experience. I had nothing against any of the sensei, but who gave me their time, energy, and attention, and that was Chino Sensei.
Okay, so you know, no problem. The 2 sewanin you had back then.
Yes.
Sorry,
yes.
Can she who must be obeyed wants a translation for any Japanese words we use. What do you think? What the sewanin mean?
Sewanin is assistant instructor. I would. Right. Yep. I would describe it as they were kind of the people to keep us in line. Yep. In
the army, they'd be the NCOs.
Yeah. So the Senshusei, the sensei, the sewanin are in between. We don't talk directly to the sensei. Messages come through the sewanin. That's how it works.
You had Malik and Graham.
Correct. Yes. Correct.
Your opinions.
Okay. So my opinions in the book. It's a game of 2 halves. My opinions towards the end of the course probably still hold true today. I think people will expect Malik to get a bad press in the book. He was a very, very hard taskmaster. Let's say that. There was a lot of hardship in my year. And when I've talked to other people, they've confirmed that actually we had probably quite a hard year. Who has the hardest year? Who cares? You know, everyone has a different experience. But he was a hard taskmaster. I think by his own admission, he did some stuff that he probably regrets. I know he regrets. But I think at all times, he did have our interests at heart. And his belief at that time, we were learning how to be Senshusei, and he was learning how to be sewanin. There was no manual to be sewanin. You just kind of got on with it. So for the first 9 months, I mean, none of us particularly liked Malik. He did some stupid stuff, but after 9 months, once we got our show down, we started to form a better relationship. And by the end of the course, and to this day, I have a lot of respect for Malik because I think he was going through a difficult time. We were definitely going through a difficult time. And even though his actions sometimes may have been slightly strange, and there's a couple of things you can read about, more than a couple of things, I have to ask myself the question, where was his heart? Was it a good intention? And I think probably there was good intention, but misplaced action. Graham Sewanin, he started off really good. You know, he was kind of there was the good cop, the bad cop. So he was the good cop. And around the Shodan time, their roles kind of reversed, and Graham Sewanin became stricter. Some of the things he said and did were a little strange. So we kind of began to favor Malik more towards the end. But, you know, I've reached out to both of them. We're in contact. I've got huge respect for both of them. They gave up a year of their lives to get me through the course, to push me to my limits. And, you know, I respect that. So they get a bit of a hard time in the book, as does everybody.
All right, I got a question, right?
Yeah.
You using your analogy as the Yoshinkan being a corporation, and Chida Sensei perhaps being the CEO, etc., right? If I had staff who made errors and mistakes for 9 months, I should sack them. If I had staff who intentionally were mean to people they were meant to train or teach or sell products to, we die as a business, which is what's happened. My point, sorry, is that responsibility is going to people who haven't truly earned it. And I'm not talking about just responsibility to sell a product, but you've got someone's lives, you've got someone's limbs in your hands, and you're doing the wrong thing, and they're wrecking people. And we talk about Hajime classes, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any idiot can run a Hajime class, right? Some people, Chida Sensei's Hajime classes are designed to teach you something.
Yes.
Most of the people, their Hajime classes are designed to kill you.
Yeah.
Very few teachers can do both in a Hajime class, teach you and kill you, right? And I've seen the Sewanin you've been talking about. I've seen others through the years. Man, even the instructors, most of them, you know, they shouldn't be allowed a dog's lead to walk a dog. I mean, you know, it was criminal, some of the stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff I had to do on the course was criminal.
Yes.
You shouldn't be doing it. So
yeah,
if I use your analogy, was the Yoshinkan irresponsible in who they put in charge and how much authority they gave them?
I think to become a Sewanin, as far as I know, I was asked to be Sewanin and didn't take on that role for the year after. As far as I know, to become Sewanin, all you have to do is to have done the Senshusei course the year before. So if you use my analogy, then yes, the Yoshinkan should have made an informed decision based on what they thought somebody would bring to the table. And if there were issues, and there were some issues during the year, then those individuals should have been reprimanded. Whether they should have been sacked or not, I don't know. There was rumors. There's a lot of things that happened, and there's a lot of undercurrents of things that happened that I write about. And I'm starting to get a bit more clarity as to what was actually going on. But yeah, I mean, there should have been some intervention.
Yeah.
With regard to
that YouTube clip which kind of features Malik.
Yes.
That was one of the worst things for the Yoshinkan. Worst thing. He came across so bad. The course came across so bad. It was a shocker. It was a shocker. It's not the Yoshinkan I knew. It was not the Yoshinkan I was proud of.
Yeah, I think that YouTube clip. I think if you let somebody with a video camera into an 11-month course, they you know, Robert, who did the video, we got on very well. He did a mini video on me and my other training and whatnot, but he captured a moment. You know, Malik said what he said. It's on camera. The camera doesn't lie. And I think he regrets. In fact, I know he regrets some of the stuff that he said. But he made mistakes. You know, Graham made mistakes. Some of the senseis, you know, most of my hajime classes were the kill classes. I don't think I ever had a hajime class where I learned anything apart from how to manage the dehydration before and after, and how not to throw my guts up. That was kind of what I learned from hajime. I don't think I learned anything in hajime. So I think everybody made mistakes, and I think as an organization, what Yoshinkan or any other organization needs to do, they need to review what happens and learn from experiences to improve the course and improve the reputation of the organization.
It ain't gonna happen. Do
No.
you know, I was still in the Yoshinkan back then, and when that first surfaced, the amount of calls that went from senior teacher to senior teacher talking about the reputation of the Yoshinkan, how the idiocy of that, you know, that whole thing, it was just, yeah, it's unfathomable, you know, that something like that would happen.
Yes, yeah. I was surprised.
Like said, okay,
I was surprised.
The guy with the camera had, you know, he was selective, etc., etc. But man, you know, Takano Sensei used to say, when you get up and do a demonstration, you are representing the Yoshinkan and you're representing Shioda Gozo.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That video represented the Yoshinkan and represented Shioda Gozo.
Yeah, understand.
I wouldn't let that video represent my dog, and I don't even have a dog. Anyway, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I think just one more point I'll make on that, Sensei, if I can, just before we move on. None of us had done the Senshusei course before, so we just thought that was normal. We thought, and I was an IPAN student for a little while before the course, and I'd watched Malik and Graham's year, and their year was, what I saw was pretty bad as well, in terms of punishments and whatnot. Particularly one guy really bore the brunt of it. So I guess they were in part a product. If we lay some of the blame at their door, they were a product of what they'd experienced themselves.
We've all got brains. Yeah? We've all got brains. We're all adults. So, yeah,
we have. But no one teaches you.
Yeah, but the buck has to stop somewhere.
Yeah, of course. And the book always stops with the top person, I think.
Yeah.
If we use the organization.
Yeah. Look, I want to talk about two more things, and you know, you can bring up anything you want, but you're in the corporate world, right?
Yeah.
And this is not a fluff question, because if you give me a fluff answer, I'm gonna slam you, right?
Do it.
How's Aikido helped you in the corporate world?
Aikido's taught me I call it stepping off the track. So Aikido was once, before I got into Aikido, I read something or somebody told me, they described Aikido to me. They described Aikido to me in relation to judo and karate, which were martial arts I knew. I'd done certainly a bit of judo, kung fu, kind of similar to karate. And somebody once said to me, it's a bit like you're standing on a train track and the train's hurtling towards you. What the judo guy does, turns, throws the train over his back, his or her back. The karate guy stands on the track, punches the train, smashes the train into a million pieces. The Aikidoka steps off the track and lets the train fly past. I've never forgotten that. And when I was a younger man, I was probably I was a bit of a hothead. I got sent to boarding school when I was young. I would get into confrontations. I would get into fights. I would get into trouble. What Aikido taught me to do, this is not just the course, but Aikido, it taught me that there's a different way. You don't have to fight force with force. So even to this day in the corporate world, you know, I'll have bad days, bad situations, you know, things don't go my way. Aikido has helped me to get off the track and let that fly past. And that's not a fluffy answer. That's genuinely how I feel.
All right. So going back to what we talked about in the Yoshinkan, and not just the Yoshinkan, anything, right? And the buck stops with you. Man, if you're getting off the track, then the buck's not stopping with you. You're letting it go and you're letting the problem go past you.
In relation to what we talked about,
is that the kind of is that the kind of leadership that Aikido is building, where you see something and you just let it go?
I think as a Senshusei, and remember I stopped training Aikido pretty much after the Senshusei course. So I'm what you would describe as a baby
I'm asking you this as a person in the corporate world.
Yes.
Is this what we teach? Is this the kind of leadership we're building by you know, getting out the way and say, hey, it's your problem?
No, no, because I'm not talking about that, Sensei. Let me clarify. What I'm talking about in a leadership role in an organization, and I have had, chief executive roles in different organizations. Yep. If there is an issue and it needs dealing with, the leader is always responsible, and it's the leader's responsibility to deal with that and deal with it quickly. That's not getting off the track. What I'm talking about is in confrontation, in when people are in your personal life, your professional life, out there on the streets, when people are confrontational towards you, often irrationally confrontational towards you, then just getting out of the way of that negative energy, sucking that negative energy up to reposition yourself, to then counter attack, to take it back to them, to use their energy in a more positive way directed at them. That's what I'm talking about. So they're two different things, as I see it.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree.
Okay, that's fair enough.
No, it's partially me playing the devil's advocate. But sure, it's a beautiful analogy, stepping off the track and letting the train go by. But if you think that of the train as a problem, then you're letting someone else deal with the problem. And sorry,
yeah.
And that's what I saw happen in the Yoshinkan that I really admired. The buck didn't stop with anyone.
Yeah. In Japan though, having been immersed in that culture, nobody questions anything. What Kancho says goes, and the train sails on past everybody. Nobody stops the train.
And then when you get someone in who do silly things, and gets to the teacher's attention, and the teacher goes "Chotto muzukashi" and leaves it at that. I mean, the train keeps going and keeps plowing other people down.
Yes. No, you're right. You're right.
If I had instructors in my dojo who kept hurting people, I would do something about it.
Yeah.
Kancho Sensei, rumor, Shiora Gozo Kancho hurt Kushida Sensei to slow him down.
Right.
So he said he was hurting too many people. That's an old story for another time. But where was that finality, the buck stopping there? And is that what we're breeding in Aikido leaders?
I think, going back to what I said earlier, there's a difference between an Aikido practitioner and an Aikido teacher. And it's the same in the corporate world. Somebody gets to a senior. I remember in my early career in accountancy, somebody gets to be a manager in an accountancy firm because they've got so many years as an accountant. Didn't make them a manager. And that can cause a whole host of problems. So, we talked about the instructor's course. Just because you've got a Shodan, second dan, sandan, does it make you a teacher? We have to be very, very careful. To go back to the, to the ceremony and what happened in our year. I don't think we were physically injured, but I think.
Sorry, one second. I'm not just talking about your year. I'm talking about across the board.
Generally.
Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah. So in our year, we weren't physically injured, but what we didn't have, I don't think, particularly in the early part of the course, when you've had a really bad day on the mats, you're beaten up, you're tired, you're off to your teaching English job. What we didn't have is that person we could turn to for kind of moral support. We didn't have that. So we were what it did do though, it formed a tremendously close bond. And if you think about the 13 of us that started, none of us quit. And that's because we had a close bond. The bonds, they're not as close as they were. Some of them still are, but not all of them are as close as they were. So what we lost from the ceremony in the early days, we kind of gained from our unit.
Rumor has it some of them should never have been able to complete the course. They were carried. That's the rumor. Okay, so my final question, no, second last question.
Okay.
Your main go-to art is Muay Thai.
Correct.
Right? And now you do BJJ.
Yes.
You did Aikido. If you talk about the mentality, But Muay Thai, you would stand there and hit the train.
Yes.
Right? BJJ, you crawl under the train, maybe. I don't know. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just saying a different mentality. Aikido, you get out the way. How do you reconcile all those?
In terms of how I approach martial arts and approach...
It's a two-part question, sorry. The first part, mentally, and in life, how do you reconcile the three?
I think you evolve in life. I've definitely evolved in life. So when I started out Muay Thai, I wanted to hit things. There's a video I posted when I did my showdown in Nottingham. I had to write an essay and read it out in front of everybody, and I talk about that. I posted it today on the YouTube channel, and I talk about the fact that I wanted to hit things when I was a young man, and then I realized that actually you can't go around hitting people. If you get into a situation on the street, you hit somebody, you hurt them, you kill them, that's not a very good thing to be doing. So Aikido was the natural progression for me to learn an art where I could control somebody without injuring them. That was the big attraction for me. People often ask me, and maybe this is the question, maybe this is an underlying question, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Sensei. People ask me, and people have asked me since I've written the book, does Aikido work? Does it work compared to Muay Thai? Yeah,
that's the second part of the question. Yeah.
Okay.
Go.
Can I jump? Can I jump?
Yeah.
Yes. And I say to them, it depends on the practitioner. What I think the difference between, let's compare Aikido and Muay Thai. In Muay Thai, you study Muay Thai, and after 6 months, you're expected to be in the ring and you're expected to spar. And when you spar, depends on how controlled the other individual is. You're going to get a bloodied nose. You might get knocked out. My first Muay Thai lesson, I got knocked out, for example. That was a bad class, but anyway. But you're expected to go through, albeit sports, you have that confrontation. In Aikido, there is no competition. There's jiawaz. Jiawaz, are, if I understand it correctly, is the free form expression of Aikido. So I think people do Aikido often for very, very different reasons. Because somebody can do Aikido, they can become a black belt. They've never been punched in the face. They've never had a situation. They've never been in a fight, for example. But they do it for other reasons. And I've talked about some of those other reasons earlier. So when people ask me, does Aikido work? It depends on the practitioner. You put an Aikidoka who's worked on the doors, has used Aikido practically in a street situation, they're going to use Aikido very, very effectively. If you put an Aikidoka who has got a black belt, never used Aikido, is not that kind of individual that would naturally defend themselves well in this situation, well, Aikido is probably not going to work because it's about the mental capacity. So Aikido does work, and I think it has to be in the right hands, but the techniques do work. The other reason people ask the question, does Aikido work, is the whole Shite-Uki relationship, and Uki's compliant, are they too compliant? Well, I think when you learn the techniques, you need a level of compliance, otherwise people get injured. But I think there is also a time and a place that you should practice the techniques with more resistance, so you're not fooling yourself. So I don't know whether I've answered your question there, but that's kind of my feeling on it.
And no, yeah, you have. And it's a question that, I've been asked that question many a times, and yeah, it's how long is a piece of string? But yes. So anyway, we're going to wind up now.
Okay.
Can you point to the book behind you?
I can. That's the. Would you believe I haven't even got an original, the non-proof copy, but that's the proof copy.
Hold it up.
So there we are.
Suck it up or go home. That's Unfortunately, we can't give you the usual keep the hashtag flame alive discounts because Simon's doing it through a private publisher.
No, it's through Amazon. So Amazon don't give you there's no coupon code or offer for Amazon.
Yeah. But, look, pick it up. It's worth a read. I'm waiting for my copy. We've done this blind, and I think you've answered the questions really well. I wish you good luck with the book. And before we finish, Simon, two things. One, any advice for people? We're still in the throes of this pandemic. And two, your last words.
Okay. So advice for the pandemic. It's a tough time. We need resilience as individuals, as countries, as nations, as the world to get through this. I think we have to take every day at a time. I think what I have seen from the pandemic is that people prior to the pandemic had lost connection. And if we, in Aikido, we talk about connection a lot. We'd lost connection when we're in self-isolation. You know, it's very hard to connect. We have to do things digitally and whatnot. And I think there are positives that can come out of any experience, no matter how dire. If there is a positive that I have taken from this, it's wanting to be more connected to people. And in the book, the last thing, it's called The Last Word. I quote Kansho Gozo Shioda, something he said many, many years ago. And if you read what he said is so relevant for today and the situation that we're going through. So that's what I'd say on the pandemic. I'd like to thank you very much, Sensei. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. If people are interested in the book and want to see some of the pictures, videos, and images that kind of support that, there is a Facebook page, Suck It Up or Go Home, as you would expect. I guess, how would I like to finish? I think the Senshusei course and my time in Aikido gave me something very special. It was a life-changing experience, and I really do mean that. It was a life-changing experience. It was an experience I'm extremely proud of, extremely grateful to have had. And I do believe, and this may sound like a very, very bold statement, but I do believe that completing the Senshusei course was the defining moment of my life. And I think one of the lessons that I learned from the course, and this is kind of another message for life as I see it, we kind of race to the finish line. We're always looking backwards or looking forwards. And on the course, I wanted to get to the end because it was painful, it was hard. And in the last Zagaku, which is the sit and learn class that we did every week, I had this revelation. It might have been slightly before that. I had this revelation, and the revelation was that I was like this racing car driver that had been foot to the throttle, speeding to the finish line. And as I approached the finish line, I realized that I'd missed a lot of the scenery that had flown past, and I wanted to slam on the brakes. And if we think about what Aikido Shugyo is, and I talk a bit about this in the book, I think if there's another lesson or message that I would want to give people is focus on the moment that you're in and do your best with that moment. Don't rush, don't look back, don't look too far forward. Master the moment and you master your life.
Cool. That's brilliant. Very brilliant. Yeah.
And as we used to say at the end of Zagaku, Ijo desu. That's what we used to say.
Okay, Simon, thank you very much. Wish you good luck with the book. Good luck with life.
Thank you, Sensei.
And
thank you.
Wherever it takes you, I hope Aiki is in your heart. I'm sure it will be. Yeah.
Always.
Everyone, it was a great interview. Get the book. Read the book. If you can't read, get someone to read it for you. I'm not talking about Robert Mustard, but yeah. People, next week we have a special panel. We've got 3 school teachers who are also Aikido teachers. And we're going to talk about school learning, dojo learning, the relevance of, is there one of Aikido in your children's upbringing? We've got 1 primary school teacher from Belgium and 2 secondary school teachers, 1 from Australia, 1 from Canada. It's going to be interesting. And yeah, if as a teacher, Aikido teacher will give you insights. As a parent, you might find things out about Aikido that you never knew. Simon, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Boss, thank you, Sensei. Thank you.